Edit out the swearing.
All of it.
The clip about me being too cheap, that's going to get me a van. Or me being really good value, or the synergy quote, that's
Yes,
got to
but
get me a truck.
if my bills double, then I'm going to give him
The
grief,
sheep
you know.
logo.
Welcome back. I actually had a few days of annual leave carried over from last year. Now I know I can get carried away with jargon, and I know a lot of farmers watch this. So annual leave, holiday, vacation, it's like a day in your life where you don't have to go to work. Like you just don't have any jobs to do. You can do what you like, but not work. So wrap your head around that one. Just so happened that someone I'd reached out to see if they'd like to do a vlog said they were free. So I'm heading down this afternoon, got about 350 miles to cover. So I should get going. Here we are in the balmy southwest, just outside Frome, we're actually in the village of Maiden Bradley. I think it's Wiltshire, but we must have been close to Somerset as well, or Dorset. Today, we are meeting up with a sheep farmer and a consultant vet, talking about some quite unusual sheep. As a clue, so we're just waiting for the farmer to turn up. He's just letting the dogs out for a run. He's just scanned his sheep, so he's bringing in Emily as a consultant vet to talk about the results and do a few other bits as well. I think there's a vasectomy to do, possibly taking some blood samples. But we'll talk about these sheep because this is a farmer who has effectively, with another group of farmers, created a breed which I thought you guys would quite like. It's quite unusual. It's got some veterinary relevance as well. I suppose the headline is, they shed their wool. They're a wool shedding breed. So they don't need shearing. Cammy Wilson at the sheep game is going to kill me for making this video. The other thing they're doing is selecting for worm resistance and selecting for a shorter tail length. I find wool shedding sheep are always fairly contentious. If you've got opinions on them, and I'm sure you will, let me know in the comments. First things first, we head to go and pen the main batch of ewes. They're going to be condition scored, plus any cull ewes will be separated off. These ewes belong to a breed called the Exlana, which was developed by a breed company called Sheep Improved Genetics. We will talk more about them, but I'll put the link to the Exlana website in the video description as well. These particular ewes belong to a farmer called Tim White. Funnily enough, Tim I heard about on my last big trip for the vlog when I went in the other direction to North Uist to spend a bit of time with Ryan McLean. On the way up there, I listened to an episode of the excellent Pasture Pod podcast, which, by the way, I can highly recommend. Michael Blanche does a very thorough and entertaining job of interviewing Tim. So if you want Tim's backstory, go and listen to that. It covers, amongst other things, ferreting, taking aid to the Balkans during the Yugoslav wars, playing the banjo, green anarchism, and going to school with George Monbiot. For now, all I'll say is Tim is a first-generation farmer, and as some of you may have already guessed, has an unconventional approach to sheep breeding and data collection. At the end of 2021, he won not one but 2 Farmers Weekly Awards, Sheep Farmer of the Year and Innovator of the Year. On that note, that's enough from me. Let's hear something from Tim.
In fact, they won't want to leave the field where they are because it's a new lay and it's about 8 inches deep in gunk, in grass.
Oh, absolutely. Land of milk and honey.
And we're on the edge of Salisbury Plain, so
we're in Wiltshire here?
We're in Wiltshire, yeah. So on the edge of Salisbury Plain. So you're just getting both land types here. So like you say, here, dairy farm down the bottom.
Yeah.
Nice lush ground, new lays over there. And then here, a bit of downland, chalk, doesn't grow very much.
No.
And the same over there in the distance, downland all the way along. And just the other side of that, Salisbury Plain, military training area, vast areas of chalk.
So you've got a bit of everything, a bit like us.
You've got a bit of everything. And, you know, downland, it's great for grazing, sheep and cattle.
Is that because it's dry?
And it's great, but unless it rains all the time, nothing grows.
Yeah.
So you see,
You can't have everything, I guess.
You can't have everything. And we'll probably have to walk around this lot as well.
And they're going to come through this gate here?
They'll come through this gate here.
Cool.
Well, I think I'll have to walk around them because Shy, come here! Come here, come on! Come here, come here! I know what you like, come on! Shy, come here! We're gonna go in. Shy, come back! Shy, come back! Shy! Come in.
So in the editing room, that'll be one smooth 2-minute piece.
Of course it will. I hope you don't take all the swearing. We've got to have some reality.
This isn't the BBC. Go right there. So this is Claire. Claire, you're just saying you're freelance shepherd.
Yeah.
Shepherdess, I don't know.
I don't follow shepherd. That's what I say.
So you were just saying we're working for a big farming enterprise. How many sheep would they have had?
Last year we were lambing 2,300 ewes.
Yeah, cool. But now you're working freelance, and we're just saying getting a bit of experience here, there, and everywhere, and seeing how people do things. So you're enjoying it. What do you think of these Exlanas? Tim's just over there, so just.
No, they're really great, and like the idea of behind them is, well, it makes shepherding easy. Well,
yeah.
As easy as it can
Easy
be.
as can. Good. And what are you actually doing with them today?
We are scanning in their tags and putting in what they scanned as.
Okay.
And that's going on the database. So.
Right. Good.
Says I've gained weight. That's that beer last night. They want to know how many lambs clean up, so no mark on it is 2, save, pregnancy condition score, Lada, that's about a 7.
Dun, dun, dun.
Wait for the next volunteer.
After that quick tutorial from Tim, we leave these sheep in Claire's capable hands, and we are back down the road a few miles away to catch up with Emily Gascoigne, Tim's consultant vet. The first job to do is to round up some tups so Emily can vasectomise one. After that, they're going to have a chat about Tim's scanning results, and depending on what Emily thinks, bleed some sheep for a few different infectious conditions and possibly some nutritional markers. So here we are, not far from where I stayed last night. These are some of the boys, some of Tim's tups, or rams as they would be down here. They're in their working clothes, and one of them, one lucky tup, is getting vasectomised today by Emily. Emily's one of Tim's vets. She has already apologised for the mud on the truck, or the van. Well, look at mine. It just shows that you've used it. You know, if your truck's too clean, it means you've not been getting out and about enough. And white is it's a poor choice, poor colour choice. So Tim, these sheep, I think the headline thing, as someone who's not seen them before, is the wool shedding. Why take the wool off them?
Why put the wool on them? That's the question. Sheep out in the wild.
Yeah.
They shed their wool, just like a deer or a dog or anything else, they shed it. And if they didn't, they would get fly strike and they would die. We, humans, over the centuries, have discovered that actually some of them keep their wool, retain their wool, and we like that because we like to be able to harvest the wool and use it. But actually now, we all use synthetic fibres. Wool is quite high labour and it brings its own risks in terms of welfare from fly strike, so we don't really want to have it at the moment because it increases the hassle, labour, and lowers the profit from sheep production. So that's the reason I have wool shedding sheep.
How did you do that? What were you starting with?
We took a load of woolly sheep and we took a load of wool shedding sheep and we crossed them until we got something that was productive and didn't retain its wool, that shed its wool. So that is my answer, and that's the answer I like to give. But what everybody wants to know is, what they mean is, what breeds did you use? We used Wiltshire Horns, because they're the native ones around here, and
Yes.
I had 250 of those that I had performance recorded for, I don't know, 20 odd years. We used Barbados Black Bellies. We also used Catardins, which are a North American wool shedding breed, a composite breed. We used Dorpers, and then on the woolly side, we used whatever we had. So we just put it in, big pot, stirred it up, recorded everything that went on, and selected on performance.
When you say performance, what does that mean?
Okay, so when we started the project, we sat down in a pub, because that's where the best decisions are made.
Absolutely.
It took 2 days, and we sat down and we just listed what is the ideal maternal sheep for a UK system, and what has it got to do. So it's got to have twins. We don't want to have to go and mess around with it, and it's got to be worm resistant, and it's never got to get foot rot, and it's got to be easy, and it's got to have lambs that grow well.
So you sort of work backwards.
And then we just went out and tried to find things, and we still bring in other genetics. If we find recorded, proven genetics, something we want, then I'm not afraid to go and use it.
You're not a Puritan.
I'm not a Puritan at all, no.
And that's the vasectomy done, by the way. See, that's
Yes,
got our
nice
silver spray
shine.
on, lovely.
Oh, look, don't look at this, mate. You'll squeal now. Oh,
All right, that's it.
It's wandered off just like that.
go and fight with your mates.
It's just, I need to walk like John Wayne for a little bit, I think. So that's the vasectomy done, nice and smoothly, and we're talking about wool shedding at the same time, weren't we?
We
But
were.
I thought it'd be really interesting because Tim uses his vets in a slightly different way to a lot of sheep farmers, I think, to talk about how he does that. So we said just before, you've got perhaps a local, first opinion, or whatever you want to call it, vet, who you use for your day-to-day stuff. You need to pick a bottle of something up, presumably go to them. But Emily comes, every quarter or so?
4 times a year.
Yeah.
When
we think.
So it won't be as neat as every quarter,
Yeah.
but when busy times of year are in
Yeah,
the
it's when
sheep
we've
calendar.
got something to do. Yeah.
Right.
So the visit today, there's an agenda. There's things we want
Yeah.
to talk about. We know that probably my next planned visit will be around lambing time. So we've got a quarter worth of things to think about. We've got that agenda when we've got those visits, haven't we? Rather than the impromptu emergency visit. So I think you probably get a lot out of it because how you rightly approach those visits. Does that make sense?
We're proactive rather than reactionary. That's what we try to be, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's
How
what
did
we
that
do.
come about, Tim? How did you get in touch with them?
That came about because my local vets, who are damn good vets I've been with for a long time, are predominantly, I think it's fair to say, predominantly a dairy-based large animal practice. I'd seen Emily at a meeting somewhere and I thought, she's a sheep nerd. So Synergy Vets, they're based, you're probably an hour's drive away from me.
Yeah.
But I talked to Emily and said, this is kind of what I'm after. And at the same time, I talked to my local vets,
Yes.
Garston Vet Practice, who are really good, and said, look, this is the score. I would like to take on somebody else as a kind of consultant, and we keep them in the loop. Since you've got involved, we've got a more structured health screening process, haven't we, I think?
Yeah.
I've always collected lots of data, but we've started using it in slightly different ways as well, I think, to look at performance and how we can improve performance.
I think quite a lot of them are actually quite creative discussions. I'd like to think, but you can give the honest answer, that I don't come here and tell you what I don't like.
No,
I've
not
never
at all.
told you
No,
what
no,
to
you never
do.
told me what to do.
Wouldn't be so presumptuous.
I'm never under any illusions of what you think would be best practice. My taking on Emily and Synergy Vets is probably the best thing for my business in the last 5 years. I always tell her she's too cheap.
That's on film now.
That's
on
quite
film.
unusual for a farmer to say that about a vet as well. I
Yeah.
found quite the opposite most of the time.
Well, so look, I can't remember what Emily charges me. All the time, Emily is there as my go-to.
You've got a direct line.
So I've got a direct line to the Sheep Geek. I mean, I wouldn't be without
So
it. It works
one
really
day,
well.
If you get enough work out of Emily, she'll be able to drive a pickup rather than a.
Rather than
Post
cheap
up
old.
that man, eh?
Yeah.
We were saying that we've got to get Emily into a truck.
Well, I'll show him this YouTube video.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to charge me twice as much, and she's going to turn up in a brand new Volkswagen truck or something. Should we go and look at sheep?
Scan sheep.
Look at scan sheep and see what we can see where we get to.
Right. Head over there. So we're back where we were earlier, where we left Claire to sort the scanned ewes. While we're over here, Emily and Tim talk through the scanning results, particularly the number of barren ewes, but also the twinning rate, how many singles, twins and triplets there are. They take advantage of some industry-funded testing for the main causes of infectious abortion in the UK, and also take some bloods for border disease as part of some active surveillance. Now, we've covered a lot of ground and I don't want this vlog to get too long, so I'm going to end it here. There are links to plenty more information about Exlana sheep, about Tim, about Emily, all in the video description. If you made it this far, fantastic. You should definitely click subscribe if you haven't already. Ring that little bell next to the subscribe button. Give the video a thumbs up and don't forget to leave me a comment. Anyway, I will see you next time.